In this lesson, we're going to look deeper into these 5 different categories of understanding. The first, Flash graphic file types. So that would be like if you import a picture into Flash, it imports as a bitmap. But a Flash graphic itself, if you create it in Flash, is a vector file. So this lesson will talk more about the graphic file types, and then more into drawing and creating shapes, applying colors and gradients, creating masks, and then working with text. So this really is all about creating content. All of that content is provided to you in the form of 5 separate guides, and I will have provided those guides to you, but if you don't have them, then make sure you ask, and I do have everything you need for completing these 5 guides in the Google Drive again. So if you go to the Google Drive, you will see that the content is available there. So I'll close that and back here. Okay, so let's take a look at that first guide just to get you going. Understanding Flash graphic file types. So I'm just going to follow along with the guide until I get to specific instructions of what to do. So here we have some file types. We've talked a little bit about that already. The FLA file is the working file in Flash. It's not really usable outside of Flash. It's the file that is for creating and completing our final Flash project that will eventually get saved as a Swift file for use. And then the uncompressed XFL file is similar to the FLA file. We won't be working with these in this class, but it's important to know that that type of file exists, and it's simply an uncompressed or larger Flash file, and you can work on individual elements in Flash. The Swift file is the completed project, and it is used for actually exporting into websites. Action script files are the files that contain the programming language that allows us to create our Flash file. And SWS files contain reusable Flash components. So really what this is similar to the Swift file, except it's a file for the purpose of reusing in another Flash creation. So similar to Swift, except the purpose is to be able to reuse that file and import it into a new project. And then your ASC files are really if you are a web server operator or owner, this contains some of the action script that can be used to run on your server. We won't be getting into this, but again, it's a type of file that can be saved and used by a server programmer. And then the JSFL files are JavaScript files, and they add new functionality. So that was like the HTML5 type of file that I had you skip in our last activity. This is the language or programming language behind the creation of the HTML5 type of file. Okay, best practices for adding media objects to a Flash document. So any graphic in a file you import into Flash must be at least 2 pixels by 2 pixels. So that's a very, very small image, but that's the minimum. You cannot have a 1 by 1 pixel. You can use action code, and that would be the load movie method that you're going to learn about to produce Swift files that load external JPEG files. So you can import JPEG files. Flash offers the following options when you import vector graphics, bitmaps, and sequences of images. When you import Adobe Illustrator and Adobe Photoshop files into Flash, you can specify import options that preserve most of your artwork's visual data and maintain the editability of certain visual attributes. So it is a good idea if you're creating your graphics in Illustrator and Photoshop to leave them as Illustrator files or Photoshop files, since they are compatible and importable into your Flash document. And when you import vector images into Flash from Adobe Freehand, you can select options for preserving. Again, I think the point here is if you created your graphic in an Adobe program, then you can leave it without having to save the image as what is usually more compatible, a JPEG, bitmap, PNG file, all of those that are compatible with uploading and viewing on websites. Well, you would want to leave them as their raw image or raw graphic in its parent program. And then when you import PNG images from Adobe Fireworks, you can import files as editable objects. So PNG allows you to leave the components of your image. For instance, if you have a frame around a colored box that has text inside, those three different components remain separate and editable in Fireworks, and you can import those items then with its editability remaining. So that's the point of that last bullet. And we have some more notes here on behaviors when you import graphics into Flash. So vector images and Windows metafile formats can be imported directly. Your bitmaps, we're going to talk more about all of this information and what it means when you import and use different type of graphic files. Here are the types of files that you can import into the Flash document. So again, as I mentioned, you want to use, especially when you're within the Adobe suite, you want to use the original image. So if you made it in Illustrator, leave it as an Illustrator file when you import it, and likewise with Photoshop. And AutoCAD will import images, bitmap. Different programs create bitmaps that can be imported. Same with Windows metafiles, Future Splash Player, a GIF. A variety of programs make GIFs, JPEGs, PNGs. These three are the common web-associated file formats for graphics. A Flash player you could import, a Windows metafile, and then an XML graphic file. So all of those are compatible for import into a Flash creation. You can import the following bitmap files into Flash Pro only if QuickTime 4 or later is installed, so you want to keep that in mind. A TIFF is a huge graphic file, but it has very good resolution of the file. Usually the TIFF is perhaps the file type that would be used in the original creation of a logo, maybe for a business, so that the employee or the business owner has the highest resolution possible in his original logo format, and then from there it's transformed into a more usable format with the original TIFF that is always saved, and then a QuickTime image itself. Flash can import the following audio formats: a WAV file, an audio interchange file format, so AIFF, and an MP3. So you want to keep that in mind. If you're importing audio, it has to be one of those audio types. And these next two pages talk about the file types or the language behind the Flash file and how the program is storing some of that information. So I want you to read over XFL files, XMP metadata, and then we'll go on to how to draw and create shapes. And you have done some drawing now with the first tutorial that I gave you where you made your animated character. And now we're going to get into some of the specifics of the shapes, drawing and creating the shapes, and really getting more sophisticated skills in drawing your shapes. So I want you to follow along in your guide. Again, you're at how to draw and create shapes. And as you go step by step, there will be things, in some occasions, they will tell you exactly what they expect you to do, but then you'll be given a little bit of extra information. And what you do with that is, for instance, it says start Flash and open a new blank document. That's pretty clear. You can do that. And then select the oval tool in the Tools panel. Okay, that's number 2. And then they give you all of this information about the tools palette. Well, the implication here now is that you're going to use that tool and create something, and then play with these choices that you have, that you see in the properties panel of that tool. And here we see join settings. So you could first, maybe you made an oval and then you went to the line tool, and now they're showing you how you could join several different shapes, and specifically the line shape there. Okay, and then bevel. See what those properties will do. And then it says make sure the oval tool is still selected. So whatever you did up here, playing around with these different property tools, now you're going to start over and select the oval tool, and then do whatever it tells you to do until eventually, and now this will take a little bit, and you're really gaining a lot of information here on some of the intricacies of these tools, and by the time you finish, you'll have this little character. Please stop here before going on to the next page and show me your completed character so I can check it off in my grade book. And then you'll simply move along to the next set of instructions, which is creating decorative fills by using the Deco tool. But you'll see that you'll actually be creating new images again and learning more about the other tools available in your Flash program.